Sairam. Hello, perfect English students. Today we have the opportunity to go into poetry. And as you can see, we have poems for comprehension. But it's a much bigger subject than that. Poetry is going to be described here in the next 3 sessions, 15 beautiful poems. And each person will have it touch their heart in a different way. Poetry is magical. It's unexplainable, but it's understandable and comprehensible. It's good for developing all of your skills of writing, speaking, and understanding. A famous poet said this about poetry: turning to poetry gives rhythm to silence, light to darkness. We find the magical use of metaphor in poetry. We also understand the compactness of expression, and it also gives us the proper use of the 5 senses. Its simplicity or complexity is explained in just a few lines. And another poet made it easy for us to understand 8 benefits of poetry. Very important to understand these 8 benefits. The first benefit of poetry is that gives you a tool to understand your own self, your own inner self. The second advantage of poetry, it's good for developing all of your skills, as I referred to, your writing skill, your understanding skill, your speaking skill. When you speak in poetry, everybody loves to listen to your voice. The third advantage of poetry, it helps to improve your ideas that you've had in the past, and it also gives you new ideas to use in the future. Another reason is the 4th point, which is as you write poetry, you become more expressive. It helps you to understand yourself. 5, it's very therapeutic for the reader to read another person's ideas and what their soul is bearing to you. 6, you understand the significance. Each word in a poem has a very strict meaning and beautiful meaning. And one word in a poem can change the whole meaning of the poem. And you can understand the power of the spoken word. For instance, one poem said that the quiet dust around us, referring to the earth, was nothing but ladies and gentlemen. So it gives us an idea of what the impermanence of life is. The 7th advantage to poetry, it helps you understand people. And it gives you patience to understand somebody else's soul. And the 8th one, it helps you understand yourself, your mind, and your inner self. So the first poem we're going to go into is called Ozymandias, all right? A beautiful poem done by Shelley, one of his best works. And in this poem, he's explaining basically the impermanence of political life and the permanence of art. He starts off, I met a traveler from an ancient land. So he's wandering through the desert of his own life, and he meets this traveler. And the traveler starts talking to him. What do you do when you meet somebody and you're by yourself? You talk to this person, find out where they have been. And so this traveler said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone. Here I've shown a picture of 2 trees that have long been dead. But this traveler was looking through the desert, okay, and he saw these 2 legs. So we have to use our imagination here. Stand in the desert. He saw 2 legs. The top of the statue had fallen down. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered vision lies. So there was a face there, but it was shattered. It was in pieces. Whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command. But you could still see in this face, okay, I've shown the face covered up now, because the sands of time go over these objects in the desert. So the sand has covered up this face. But this person, this ancient traveler, saw the face. And he said that the sculptor who did this face, could read the passions of the face, which yet survive stamped on those lifeless things. So we have a couple of legs, a picture of a face, and they were lifeless. There was no life in them. But the sculptor had captured the sneer and the cold authority of this person. So the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appeared. And you can see, he had on this big pedestal, he had marked into this pedestal these words, because he wanted all the kings in the future to see this. He goes, "My name is Ozymandias." It sounds like a Greek name, but it was actually a name from Egypt. "King of kings, look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." He's telling all of the kings in the future, look on my statue, look at all my works around me. But you can see, all of his works have been covered by the sands of time. They've just covered up his works. Now nothing remains besides round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away. We can see another picture, okay? The sands have completely covered him up. He's no longer standing. So I looked into this poem, and I found out that Ozymandias, okay, is another name for the Pharaoh of Egypt, Ramses II, possibly the strongest pharaoh that ever lived. And he put the statue up. He wanted people to remember him. But what happened was, over time, the statue fell down, his empire crumbled, and it shows the transience of political power. So we have a few questions on this poem. We can see here a picture of the sculptor. The sculptor is working very hard to put the definition into the face and to show the people that look at this sculpture what he's trying to convey. So we'll ask the following questions. Who did the speaker meet? The speaker is the author, Shelley, of this poem. He met a traveler from an ancient land, an old wise person, and they had a beautiful conversation. Where did the traveler come from? An ancient land. Okay, so we're talking about a wise person who was probably self-realized, who knew a lot, and he came from many lifetimes. And then 3, the one who read the Passions well. The sculptor is the one who read the Passions well. Let's see if we have the right answers. Okay, the author met a traveler from an antique land, an ancient land. And who read the Passions well was the sculptor. A beautiful sculptor. He can put into stone a fantastic image. Even when the image falls down, you can still see what he's trying to convey. So the takeaway from this poem is that it shows the transience of political power and praises art's power to preserve the past. Let's go to the next poem, Prayer of a Black Boy. Now this poem was written by Guy Tyrolean, and this was written about the American culture in the 1800s. And this is when the black people, right before they got their freedom. Our next poem is The Prayer of a Black Boy. And this was written by Guy Tyrolean. This is about the society in the 1800s in the United States. At that time they had slavery, but there was a big movement to free the black people. Everybody is human. Why should somebody be a slave? So this was his prayer that was written. It says, "Lord, I am so tired." Here the boy, he's thinking about going to school, and he's so tired. He does not want to go to the school. "Tired, I entered this world." Even when he was born, his mother and father were tired. They were tired of being slaves. "Far I have wandered since the cock crew." The cock, when it crows in the morning, what does that? It means it's time to wake up. It's right at sunrise. So he's been up since sunrise. And he's thinking about going to school, but the road to the school is very steep. It's steep in more than one way. It's hard to get up there, and it's hard for him to get excited about going to school. Lord, I do not want to go to their school. Please help me that I need not go again. I want to follow my father. He wants to learn from his father, okay? To go into cool gorges. You can see the cool gorge where they live. And he wants to walk through these beautiful gorges and places where water is, and life is, and trees, and learn about the world. When the night is hovering over the magical forest, here we have a forest at nighttime, the moon is there. He loves nature. He loves to be out in nature. He doesn't want to be in school. And when the spirits play before the dawn, it's the best time of day is to wake up early, 4 o'clock in the morning, you know. The spirits are up. You can communicate with higher thoughts in yourself. And then he thinks later on the day, the sun is going to come beating down. And I want to be barefoot. I want to walk on these paths. Even though the sun is red hot and making it very hot, I don't care. I like to have hot feet. I want to be outside. So he wants to go in the midday sun and lie down to sleep between a mango tree. So the mango tree's got all these mangoes on it. It's lunchtime. He's had a nice lunch. He wants to take a nap. He doesn't want to be in school studying some books. I want to wake up only when the white man's siren is there and it starts to howl and in the factory. He's talking about, at that time, this was in the 1860s, they would have a siren and all the black people would have to get up and go start working in the fields. They would go in these trucks and be dropped off in these cotton fields to do hard work all day. Cotton fields and sugar fields. So he's talking about the ship that goes to the sugar fields, lands, and it spits its crew out. It just throws out all these black people to start working. Of the black workers in the landscape, Lord, I do not want to go to this school again. See, the young boys, they weren't big enough to work, so they went to school. Please help me that I need not go again. It's true, they say, okay, that a little Negro ought to go so he might become a gentleman. And you can see this picture of a black gentleman there. He has a nice coat on, he's slouched down, but this young boy does not want to become like that gentleman. He wants to be free. He wants to learn from his father. Just like the gentleman of the city. He doesn't want to be a city slicker. So he might become a real gentleman. I do not want to become a gentleman. Or they call it a real gentleman. I'd rather stroll along the sugar stores where the sugar in the bags are the same color as my skin. This beautiful brown sugar. And then listen, when he's done with the traveling around, listen to the moon whispering into the ears of the cocoa palms. We see the cocoa palms here and the moon there. This boy wants to be out in nature. And then he wants to hear the elders speak, okay? Recite. There's an older man who's always smoking cigarettes, but he talks beautiful stories. And he tells stories of Samba, one of his grandfathers, and Master Hare. This could be Hare Krishna. He could have knowledge of all higher truths. And this boy wants to listen to that. And many others that are not found in any book. He wants to hear stories of real people that are hard, that know God and are higher in their thoughts. The Negroes have had too much work. They're so tired. And why should I learn from foreign books the kinds of things we've never seen and probably will never see? He's making some good arguments here. Just as these gentlemen of the city, he said, this school is too sad. I want to be in a happy place. I don't want to be in a sad place. These real gentlemen. And then he says, he goes, look, these real gentlemen, they do not know how to dance, okay, in the light of the moon. They don't know how to dance at night. They do not even know how to walk with bare feet. They have these shoes on. They've been citified, okay? They do not even know how to tell the tales of their fathers. They don't know their history. They're not in tune with what's going on. by the light of their mighty fires. At nighttime they have a nice fire and you can tell these beautiful stories. Oh Lord, I do not... These real gentlemen. This boy wants to be a real young boy and he wants to know the real life. So he says, these real gentlemen, they do not even know how to dance by the light of the moon. They don't know how to have fun at night. They do not even know how to walk with bare feet. I like to walk through these hot paths and where the river is in the cool moonlight. I love to do that. And they do not even know how to tell the tales, the old stories of the grandfathers and the fathers and higher truths. They don't know how to tell those stories by the light of their nightly fires. He said, let's get a fire each night and have some nice satsang, have some nice talks so we can have higher ideas. So he says, oh Lord, I do not want to go to their school again. Now it's very important that you understand in the 1860s, okay, they freed the slaves finally under President Lincoln. But they created the schooling system at that time, okay? And the schooling system was for the newly freed Negroes. They had nowhere to go. So they created a school. And the rich people, all the people that had money, would send their children to the private schools. So there was a big difference between public schools and private schools. And this poor colored boy did not want to go to the public school where he would be completely brainwashed and not learn the real truths of life. So that's what this guy Tyrolean was trying to convey to us, that this boy understood what he really wanted was real life. So let's go to the next poem. Oh, let's answer a couple questions. We have a couple questions on this poem that we've just done. Okay, answer the following questions. The speaker prays to, who's he praying to? We have three choices: the school teacher, the God, the white man. So the answer is he's praying to the higher source. He's praying to God. The next question is, the road to the school is, now we can see the road to the school, right? The school is way up here. So this is a steep climb. And as we said before, it's steep in two ways. It's hard to get up to it, and it's hard to get your mind up to it. This boy does not want to go up to that school. So the answer is the road to the school is steep. And the last question we have, what is it the speaker does not want to do? I think it's very obvious. He does not want to go to this school. He wants the real school. So let's go ahead to the next poem, Playthings, okay, by Rabindranath Tagore, a very famous poet. And he writes about children, okay? He says, child, he's a double child. He wants this child to pay attention. How happy you are sitting in the dust, playing with a broken twig all morning. Here this man has his child with him, and he's working on some computers and stuff like that and doing accounting. And his child is just playing here in the mud with a stick and a feather, having a good time. How happy you are sitting in the dust, playing with a broken twig all the morning. I smile at your play with that little bit of broken twig. I am busy with my accounts, adding up figures by the hour. So perhaps you glance at me. Now the child's looking up at the father. What's his father doing? And think, what a stupid game to spoil your morning with, adding up all these numbers. And this is what the child is thinking. Child, he looks back to him, he says, I have forgotten the art of being absorbed in sticks and mud pies. Here the child is totally absorbed, 100% attention, but this fellow is working on his accounting books, figuring out how he can make these things match up. He's lost the ability to completely be absorbed, fully in the moment. I seek out costly playthings and rather than lumps of gold. And you can see he's seeking after these lumps of gold and money. This is what he's looking for. And the child is looking for anything around him to enjoy. And whatever you find, you create your glad games. So whatever you have, you can make a game out of anything. But I've lost that ability. And I spend both my time and strength over things I can never obtain. He's looking for a fortune, and you can never get more money. You can never get enough money. As much as you make, you're always trying to get more. So he can never obtain the amount of money he really wants, okay? In my frail canoe, frail of course means very flimsy canoe, which is his idea about life, I struggle across the sea of desire. What a beautiful way to put it. He has these desires. It's an ocean of desires. You fill one and another one comes. And forget that I too am playing a game. So this poem gets us to think about the game of life. We play the game of life, but we can see beyond the game of life. Let's go to the fourth poem. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, by Maya Angelou. What a name, huh? Maya Angelou. She's getting all of the religions together. And she sees that there's a bird in a cage. And she wants to write a poem about this. So she says, a free bird leaps on the back of the wind. So the breeze is coming, and the bird just floats along. The wind is carrying the bird, okay? And it floats downstream until the current ends. So he's just having a nice free ride up in the air. But when the current ends, then he starts flapping his wings. And he dips his wing in the orange sun rays. You can see the sun rays of the sky. And he's dipping his wings into these sun rays and enjoying the heat of the sun. And I dare to claim the sky. He says, this is my sky. He dares to say, I can go wherever I want to. And then she compares that, okay, with the bird that's in the cage. And you can see the bird in the cage trying to stick his head out, trying to get out of the cage. And so, but the bird that stalks down his narrow cage, no matter how big the cage is, it's a narrow cage, and can seldom see through his bars of rage. He's not happy that he's stuck in this cage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So even when the cage door is open, because his feet are tied to the bar, he can't move. And they've clipped his wings so he can't fly. The bird is stuck there. So what can he do? All he can do is open his throat. He's opened his throat and start to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill. His voice has got fear in it. He's singing for freedom, but he knows he can't be free. Of things longed for, but still unknown. He doesn't know what's up there because he hasn't been up in the sky, but he's singing for it. And his tune is heard. For the caged bird is singing for his freedom. And you can see the bird, he's singing, please free me, I want to be up there, I want to fly, I want to do something. The free bird, the bird that's outside, okay, thinks of another breeze. He's done with one breeze, but he thinks of another. And the trade winds, these nice, soft, gentle winds in the summer, they go through the sighing trees. And of the fat worms, you can see the worm here. It's waiting for the bird to come and catch it in the dawn, the bright lawn. He's on a bright lawn, he can see the bird, he swoops down, there's breakfast for him, provided by God and the Great Spirit. And he names the sky his own. He's a free bird. But the caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. Grave, as we all know, is where you put people when they passed away. They're in their grave. So his dreams are gone. He can't fulfill his dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. The inside of the bird is screaming. This is some kind of nightmare. I'm tied into this cage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. They say this again. This is why this caged bird can't do anything. So he opens his throat to sing. The last thing he can do is sing to his creator, his maker. Please, don't let this happen to me again. I want to be a free bird. Then we have the fifth poem for this morning. And it's The Indian Upon God by W.B. Yeats. Many of these authors and poets have had the good fortune to find some Indian philosophy and books like the Gita. And it's changed their viewpoint of life a lot. And so this poet is trying to explain about God, okay, through the eyes of different people that are created or different things that are created by God. So the poem starts off, he's by a stream, and he goes, I passed along the water's edge, below the humid trees. Wherever there's a stream, there's humidity, and it's nice and cool. My spirit rocked the evening light, and rushes surrounded my knees. As he's walking, all of the rushes, all of the grass is going around his knees. My spirit rocked in sleep and sighs. So his spirit is looking around, enjoying the evening, and he saw the moorfall. Moorfall are birds, okay, that hang around the water. And they were pacing along the bottom here. They were pacing along the grassy slope. And then they stopped chasing each other, round and round in circles. And then he heard the eldest bird speak. So what did this bird say? The bird says, hey, the creator of this whole world, okay, holds the world between his bill and makes us strong or weak. The creator is an undying bird. He's a big waterfall. He's a moorfall, okay? And he lives beyond the sky. His rains are from his dripping wing. He says the rains that fall on the earth are from the dripping wings of the moorfall, okay? And the moonbeams that come from the light of the moon come from the eye of this big bird. And so that's how he imagines God is, a big bird. So this fellow, the author, is walking along and he sees a lotus, all right? And I passed a little further on and I heard the lotus talk. This man was so in tune with nature, he could hear the plants and the flora and fauna speak to him. So what did the lotus say? The lotus said, who made the world and ruleth, he hangeth upon a stalk. You can see the stalk here that the lotus is. So he said, God is this big lotus up in the sky. And he hangs on a stalk. For I in his image am made, and all this tinkling tide is but a single drop of rain between his petals wide. All of this water around us, all of the ocean, is just a little drop of water for this giant lotus that created everything. So this author walks further, okay? And he sees out in the pasture, he sees a beautiful deer, and they call him a roebuck, another name for deer. In a little while, within the gloom, a roebuck raised his eyes. You can see he's looking at us. He's checking us out. Brimful of starlight. And he said, this is what the deer said to this author, the stamper of the skies, the one that jumps around, okay, up in heaven, is a gentle roebuck. Or else, I pray, could he conceive a thing so sad and soft, a gentle thing like me? How could he be anything but a big deer that created such a beautiful creation as this deer? So the author goes further, and what does he see? Wow, he's lucky enough to see a peacock. And he said, I passed a little further, and I heard a peacock say, who made the grass, and made the worms, and my feathers gay? Nobody's got better feathers than a peacock. He's a monstrous peacock, and he waveth all the night. All night he's waving up in the skies, okay? He's waving his feathers, okay? His languid tail above us with its myriad spots of light. And all of these spots of light, these beautiful eyes of the peacock feather, he says are the stars in the sky. And so what is the bottom line of this poem? The bottom line is, and our takeaway is, that God is in all of his creation. All his creatures feel that their God is similar to themselves. The divine is in every atom of creation. The Supreme is always there. And this poem gets us to think about the beauty of our world. Thank you for your kind attention. Om Shri Sai Ram.